If there's one thing that our political leaders from both parties are teaching us as they help plunge our nation into the abyss, it's that America needs new leadership in the political realm. Uncle Sam doesn't just want you, he needs you.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
If you were the homecoming king or queen, if you won a popularity contest in your high school, you might not want to run for office, all right? Because all of the things that we've discussed in various episodes about people hating you, people reviling you, if you stand up for what's right, if you fight for justice and righteousness, you're going to have some thick skin. And a lot of times these guys get into office, these gals get into office precisely because they were pretty boys or pretty girls, or they liked everyone, and, you know, woe to you when all men speak well of you. People who get into office by being a moderate, well, you dance with who brung you. They stay moderates. They don't do anything. They don't fight for what is true and just. Or worse yet, there's people who get into office who are corrupt, and they want to kill babies, and they want to undermine the sacrament of marriage, or whatever. They want to increase the socialist plantation. And these people show real courage. So I'm asking you, if you love and fear God, and you understand that there is a need for righteous people in government, I'm asking you to watch this episode, just watch, and consider, number one, running for office yourself, or number two, helping somebody run for office. Now, there are two main reasons why a righteous, just person would want to run for office. Two main reasons. Number one is to win, to actually get the levers of governance in your hands so that you can change the course of where we're going. Fight for babies, fight for families, fight to lower our tax burden, to, if you're in the federal government, to fight for things both national and international. So reason number one is to win. But reason number two is also important and has great value, and that is to get out your message. And so I want to talk to you about the second one first, because many of the principles of running to get your message out would still apply if you were running to win. And the simple matter is, for example, if you are a conservative Republican candidate and you want to run in downtown Chicago or downtown New York City and some of the more liberal bureaus, you're simply not going to win, okay? There's a statistical reality about numbers of registered voters that make certain seats safe seats for the party that holds the seat, all right? And a real dose of reality is necessary if you're going to run, because if you're in a 75% liberal Democratic district and you think that you're going to win as a Republican, you're not. You're just not. So then the issue becomes, all right, I still want to run because I want to get out a message. And that has great value. If you look at the end of child labor, or if you look at safety in the workplace, if you look at women's voting rights, there was a time when those were very hot issues. They were hot button political issues. And you had to take a stand. You had to fight for what you believed in. And there was a time when women voting was wildly unpopular, when ending slavery was wildly unpopular, when ending child labor was wildly unpopular with certain people. So you had to have people willing to be forerunners and to hold a political position in an election cycle that was a losing position. All right? There was a time where if you advocated in certain areas the end of slavery or women voting, you were going to lose the election. But if you were willing to fight for what was true and right and use the election cycle to put out your message, part of the way ultimately that issues win is you keep saying the truth. You keep saying the truth. You keep saying the truth. And then after a while, people go, you know what? He's right. She's right. And I'm going to vote for them. I'll be right back and talk about the difference between federal campaigns and state campaigns. Only one link in the chain of destiny can be handled at a time. Sir Winston Churchill.
You have two choices. I mean, you can try to raise your children by design, or you will raise them by default. There are no perfect parents. We're going to get it wrong sometimes. If we have a plan, we've got a better chance of getting it right in the long run.
There is something deep within the heart of every human being that longs for parental acceptance and approval. When does a boy become a man?
Get a group of guys around and ask them that question.
I don't think there's a certain age. Some men stay boys their whole life.
I would say, 16, 18 years old.
Wow, that's a good question.
When they get bar mitzvah?
Well, I think when he has a child. So I just became at 56, 56 years old.
Without the power of the Holy Spirit changing us and giving us power over our sin, we can't hope to be the dads that our kids need us to be.
Hi, friend, I'm Randall Terry. Thomas Jefferson said, "A coward is much more exposed to quarrels than a man of spirit." Continuing with our discussion about running to get a message out, all right, let's talk about pro-life or having marriage be between people of opposite genders, or the threat of true historic Islam to freedoms. If you want to discuss these things regarding domestic policy and foreign policy, the best way to do it is to run for federal office. That means you either run for the U.S. House of Representatives, which has election cycles every 2 years in the entire nation, or you run for the U.S. Senate, which has an election every 6 years, and you're going to have 2 elections in the 6-year cycle in your state, or you run for president. All right? Now, the reason I say that that's the best way to get your message out is because federal law requires, by law, that federal candidates be given, or not given, be sold television time and radio time, and that the owners of the TV and radio stations, because they carry a federally granted license to operate that station, they are not permitted to edit or to alter your television or radio ad. Now, let the full weight of that sink in on you. In fact, you know what? Lane, let's run one 30-second commercial of mine. Now, what we're going to do here, just so you know, this is not a child-friendly ad. So if you've got a child in the room, you don't want to have them see it, we would run these later at night, and we would even run warnings on them so that people would know that some rough stuff was coming. But you watch this, and you'll see for yourself the power of it.
I have known Islam on 3 continents before coming to the region where it was first revealed. That experience guides my conviction.
Today, President Obama gave $1.5 billion to the Muslim Brotherhood without congressional approval.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
I can't vote for Obama again.
A vote for Obama helps Muslims murder Christians and Jews. I'm Randall Terry, and I approve this message. Now, that ad was shown all over the country when I ran for president. And I knew that I wasn't going to win. I mean, I did beat President Obama in 14 counties in Oklahoma in the Democratic primary. And for some reason, I'm not the president of those 14 counties. I don't know how the whole thing works. But anyway, I'm just kidding. The impact of that ad was phenomenal. We had news coverage all over the country from that ad and ads like it. And you can go to our website and find a link to look at some of these ads. And as an example of what you could do. But the reason that I could run those ads and bring people face to face, many people for the first time in their whole lives, face to face with choice, with a woman's right to abortion, is because federal law required that the stations run the ads. Okay? And as long as, for example, child killing, euphemistically known as abortion, as long as that's reduced to a war of words, we're probably not going to prevail. But when the American public is brought face to face year after year, election cycle after election cycle, with the gruesome reality of these poor babies who have been brutally murdered, then we have a chance of restoring the full protection of law again to unborn babies and making it a crime to murder them. All right? Now, if you're running for a state office or a local office, a city councilman, whatever, there's great value and merit in that, but you do not have the protection of federal law to run your ads unedited. Are you hearing me? If you walk in and you're running for state assembly in your state and say, here's my ad, and you want to say that abortion is murder, and you want to show a baby killed by abortion, federal law does not protect you. And the station can and most likely will say, we refuse to run this. It doesn't meet our standards, i.e. they don't want to upset their viewers with the gruesome reality of child killing. But if you run for federal office, then you can run the ad. Now, a couple other things. When we come back, I want to talk to you about how you get on the ballot and whether or not you have to live in the district in which you want to run. So, don't go away. Be right back. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. James Madison said, "There is no maxim, in my opinion, which is more liable to be misapplied, and which therefore needs more elucidation, than the current, that the interest of the majority is the political standard of right and wrong." All right, if you're not on the ballot, no one can vote for you. And if you're running as a federal candidate and you're on the ballot, you can run ads, and the TV stations are required by law to run them. And by the way, we've done this. I know what I'm talking about. I ran for president, not to win, but to get a message out. I ran for Congress to get a message out, and was able to show our ads and the team of people, courageous men and women who ran in 2012. We reached people in 32 states with our ads, all right? And if you ever research the history of that, Gary, Andrew, David, Alan, George, all these incredible candidates, Missy, I mean, it was just such an intense time. But we were a voice for the babies and a voice for marriage that really no one had ever done anything like that before. And you might want to do it. I mean, it just takes the courage, it takes the heart, and it takes getting your name on the ballot. So if you what you have to do is this: go to your Secretary of State's website, all right? At their website, the Secretary of State's website, it will tell you what you need to do to have ballot access in your state. And in some states, you are required to have a certain amount of signatures, maybe 50 or 60 or 70 in a congressional run, such as a primary in Ohio. In some states, such as New York, you need thousands of signatures. In some states, you need 0 signatures. The only signature you need is your signature and some type of a filing fee with the Secretary of State. And it's certainly a lot easier to write a check to get your name on the ballot as opposed to the enormous amount of man hours that are required to collect signatures from registered voters to get your name on the ballot. And we've done both. And I can tell you, if you can raise the money, it's a lot easier to simply pay the money and get your name on the ballot. And then just keep raising money to create your television ads, your radio ads, and then to run them. Now again, I've been focusing on what is going to be required of you if you want to run to get your message out. And if you run pro-life ads, like the one we showed in the last segment, you will save babies. This dear lady, Angela Michael, ran ads in her area, which included St. Louis, Terre Haute, and one other market that I can't remember now, one other TV market. So she was running ads in 3 cities. Watch this ad and let me tell you a story.
What is the biggest crisis facing America? The economy, the debt, entitlements? While these issues are important, none are as critical as ending the abortion holocaust. Over 52 million babies have been slaughtered by abortion, their mangled bodies thrown in sewers and landfills. We must stop this massacre or God will judge us. Innocent blood has a voice, and that voice cries for justice. I'm Angela Michael, and I approve this message.
All right, so as you can see, that's very prophetic, all right? She's saying the blood of these babies cries out from the ground, which is a scriptural passage. And she got 2 different phone calls from 2 different young women, both of whom were scheduled to kill their baby in an abortion mill. And they called her weeping, saying, I can't do it. I'm going to have my baby because I saw your ad. So never underestimate the power of running so that you can get your message out. So I encourage you, go to your Secretary of State's website and find out what would be required of you if you want to run as a federal candidate in your state in order that you can get your message out. I'll be right back to give you a few ideas about running both as a local candidate and running to win. We have put together what we call an online university for you. Now that's a highfalutin way of saying that we have a pretty significant library of material, books, tapes, videos that are there for you for free. Why are we doing this? Because America is desperate for new leaders, and because this material could help you to become the leader that you and God want you to be. Check it out and enjoy it. It took me 14 years to write it. 4 rewrites, countless edits. I poured my heart and soul into Dragon Slayers. At points a very inspiring and painful book to write. I encourage you to go to our website and look at the reviews that we have gotten from readers of this book, and then Avail yourself. It's an allegory, and I promise you, you'll be inspired. Hi, friend. I'm Randall Terry. George Washington said, "If we desire to avoid insult, we must be able to repel it. If we desire to secure peace, one of the most powerful instruments of our rising prosperity, it must be known that we are at all times ready for war." Lest anybody leave this episode thinking, "Oh, this is easy, piece of cake. Man, let's do it." Let me tell you something. If you're going to run, even to get a message out, be prepared to spend time, right? This is a major sacrifice. So if you want to run to win, I mean, really, whether it's for U.S. House, U.S. Senate, you want to run for your state assembly or your state Senate or county position, find out what it takes to get on the ballot, but then you need to immediately begin to assemble a team of people around you who will help you work, because doing phone banks takes time and effort. Going door to door to meet potential voters takes time. Going to the dozens of meetings where you will be invited to speak as a candidate, all right, takes time. So you're going to have to be in front of people. You're going to have to be willing, if you want to run to win, you're going to have to be willing to just go nonstop, 10, 12, 14, 16-hour days. We're going to this breakfast meeting, to that luncheon meeting, to that evening meeting, to this political rally, to the Tea Party people, to the pro-life people, to the Women's Voting Club, to the Republican committee meetings, or the Libertarian committee meetings, whatever party you're going to run in, Democratic committee meetings, if you're in a conservative Democrat area. So it's going to take time. And if you want advice, you contact us, all right? I'll spend some time advising you. I've run 2 times to win. Once for the U.S. House in 1998 and once for the Florida State Senate in 2006. I lost both races. They were grueling. They were grueling. You have to be prepared to eat, drink, breathe, and sleep the campaign if you intend to win, all right? If you're trying to win. And again, as I said early on, you've got to crunch the numbers. You've got to look at the last 20 years' history of races for that seat and see how many votes the seat has been carried by. See if it's ever switched parties, all right? See if it's been gerrymandered, if the lines have been changed, which would have an effect on how many registered voters from any party were in that district. And then what you have to do is, if you're running to win, decide your whole platform and know the issues, and then be willing to stand by what you believe and not equivocate. This running for office business, especially running to win, is about the internal compass of a man or a woman. This is what I believe. This is what I will do if I get to office. This is what I won't do if I get to office. Now, I think that a part of what I'm trying to do right now is to put a longing in your heart to run or to help somebody else run, but also to put the fear of God in you. Because whether or not you're going to run just to get your message out, or if you're going to run to win, it's going to cost you. You've got to raise money. You've got to call people and ask them to give you money. That is one of the most important things that any candidate can do, is to ask for money. And if you feel uncomfortable doing it and you're not independently wealthy, all right, then if you won't do it, then don't even waste your time. Because the candidate asking for financial support is absolutely critical to any campaign, whether it's a campaign to get your message out or a campaign to win. And if you want to win, you've got to have money. Depending on the seat that you're running for, if it's a local seat, you might be able to do it with $30,000 or $50,000 or $80,000. If it's a state seat, it might cost you $100,000. If it's a congressional seat, it might cost you $1 million or $2 million. Be prepared to raise money and to spend money. We'll continue this discussion.